It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, welcome to the Mayor's Report. Dave Clews, Mayor Dave Clews in Pottsville. You know, we have two Mayor's Reports, as you know. We have Jeff Gassad, who is Mayor of Hazleton, with the Mayor's Report. And of course, we've had for a while the Mayor's Report with Mayor Dave Clews. Dave, everything's coming along okay?
Yeah, we're, the holiday season here in the city, and we're moving along. We're closing out the year on some good notes, city business-wise, with finishing a budget that's balanced and no tax increases for the city. So
that's a good thing.
That's a real good thing.
Last time we talked, we had a light debacle. I mean, this, that was like the climax, and all of a sudden, you just, what happened here? So how are things resolved?
Well, I'm not really happy to report on it, but it actually worked out pretty well, Sam. The company that we bought the lights through came in the very next day, actually, not only the salesman, but the CEO of the company, and sat down with us and realized, the position they put myself and the city in with, doing the fundraising and so on. And besides promising us good lights next year, they're giving us 15 more lights at no charge. These lights are close to $900 a piece.
Wow.
So, they're really stepping up that way. And then they turned around and they delivered to us as loaners some very nice displays around the city, light up penguin and reindeer and a beautiful arch at Discovery Park at 3rd and Market. And then they really surprised us and dropped off a 20-foot tree at Yuengling Park that you can walk through, and has not only some great lighting on it, there's a lot of trace patterns with the lights. Really beautiful piece. I understand it's approximately 20 feet tall, and if we wanted to purchase it, it's only $20,000.
Oh, geez, that's
so it's a spectacular piece.
Enjoy it now, but they can take it back.
Yeah, it's going back. But it's been used a lot for winter prom pictures and stuff.
That's great.
It's really beautiful. I mean, Dave Clark and the guys from the Parks Department do a great job with Yuengling Park to begin with, and this year got the added benefit of our lighting company providing a really spectacular piece. Well,
speaking of events, before we get to the budget and talk about the great things that no tax increase, which, believe me, everyone, they're getting taxed enough in this world. Winterfest, New Year's Eve functions, talk about those.
Yeah, Winterfest joint project with the Schuylkill Chamber and the Pottsville Business Association. They've done it before, a lot of live music, crafters, food, of course the traditional Yuengling beer garden at all our city events. So that's going to be in downtown between 2nd Street and also on Progress Avenue. They have expanded its footprint. So looking forward to that happening. And then we have New Year's Eve in Garfield Square. Always a nice time. Garfield Square is such that hallmark look and feel of a winter card, and just a great place.
What happens that night? Like what goes on?
Well, that night we usually have some live music there. We'll shut down the square at usually 10:30 towards 11, about an hour and a half before the traffic. Have some live music playing, and then of course we do the traditional countdown. And of course, here in Pottsville, we don't drop anything. We don't drop a bottle of Yuengling. We raise a bottle of Yuengling.
Oh, I see.
I got in big trouble the first year for saying, let's drop the bottle. And they were horrified that we would actually drop a bottle of Yuengling.
And Dick Yuengling's on top of the bottle, right?
We raise a bottle of Yuengling. And,
only kidding, Dick is on the top of the bottle.
Been doing that for years.
If he's awake, he'll be there maybe. I'm not sure. That's a little kiss I gave to Dick.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in years. I hope he's doing well.
He's doing well. I've done a couple of things with him over the past year here where, some different promotions he's done. Of course, they're bringing back their summer festival this year with Lee Bryce. Be another big
Biggie.
event.
That was a biggie.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that night is you're there that night, right?
I'm there. I haven't missed it in
Just
several
don't
years
sing.
now, and no, I don't. No, absolutely
Don't
no
sing,
singing
no
here.
singing. And it draws a nice crowd.
We get a nice crowd downtown. I think people like to come out and still, have that hometown. I'm in town visiting, in town back from college. Here's a place we could be proud of, have a little fellowship, and welcome a new year.
That's what I was say. There's a lot of events that in different towns that they have where they actually like the reunions. Where people come, the family members will come in, and they know they're going to see their friends or neighbors that they haven't seen all year probably. It's amazing. Sometimes you live next to a person and you don't see them for about a year, and they're right next door, other than passing in a car. Hi. But that's an event. I guess a lot of people get together for that
It's
event.
true that, and it's one of the great things about, small town USA is that we still have those venues.
Yeah.
People still value those events.
Yeah.
And it's the type of thing that, I get kind of emotional at this time of year because I know what it's like to not have somebody in your life who's been there all the time. And sometimes we take those things for granted.
Don't we ever?
Next year you're in the square looking and you're talking about Aunt Judy, Uncle Bob, cousin so-and-so who's no longer with us to share that. But that memory creates a smile and warms the heart.
Yeah. And those are tough. You try to be joyful and but again, you have compassion, Dave. You try to enjoy the people that are there now. And I think you're right. I know you miss your wife. There's no question. But you had beautiful memories. Now you got new memories, and you're doing things in life, and it's easy to say, but it's hard to do sometimes.
Right, and I think when what makes it easier is when you can take that time to step back and look at the memories. Mm-hmm. Nobody likes to think about who's not going to be here next year, but that's a fact of life. But creating those treasured memories that later on you look back at and they make you smile. They take away that sadness and give you a good reason to smile and be glad you're still here.
And you're right. You don't know what's happening around the corner. In towns like this, and I remember, when I was growing up in Pottsville, little patch town, it was, of course, we went to Christmas Eve was always fish night, but we always went to midnight mass, and that was always an event. And the interesting thing about the towns, when you had every town has a church. You're talking about churches like Shenandoah. Every block had a church. We only had one church. But when you're walking up to midnight mass, everyone walked at that time. You saw all the town and all your friends, and it was just a nice memories. I'm sure you had those memories.
Sure, yeah, that warm fuzzy feeling when dating, myself kind of back in the day when you went to church in a suit and tie.
That's right.
And everybody had their Sunday school and their Sunday best.
Yes.
That they wore to church.
Yes.
Those memories are still, fresh in my mind, and the things I treasure now. That looking at it that way.
When you grew up, what did your family? How did the holidays? What was Christmas? What did it mean to them, and how did they pass it on to their siblings?
Well, when I was growing up, it was kind of the rotating aunts and uncles. This year we're at Uncle Jim's. Next year we're at Aunt Nancy's. When both my grandparents were alive, they fit into that cycle. We were going to, Grammy and Pappy Anderco or Grammy and Pappy Clews' house.
Yeah.
And we, everybody would get together and have dinner, and there'd be some gift opening and
nice.
Wonderful memories made.
Yeah, good memories. And so New Year's Eve is Garfield. You have that event happening. When we come back, we'll talk about some money, how the Pottsville's doing with money, with the budgets, and just enjoying holiday time in a small town. We'll be right after this. Welcome back to the Mayor's Report. I'm here in Pottsville with Mayor Dave Clews. We're at the Visitors Bureau. They're nice enough to have us do our taping here. We just did the Schuylkill Report with Jerry Enders. Once again, ssptv.com. All of our programs there. I was mentioning in the Schuylkill Report, I was reading in the Standard Speaker. Incidentally, we're very happy to have them as our media partner, pick up the paper, also the Pottsville Republican. The headline was, lack of original programming the stations are having trouble with, but thank God we're fortunate here for SSP TV. We produce over 21 local neighborhood shows, such as this one right here. And very grateful to all the advertisers. We appreciate that very much. And thanks for making the Sam Lesante Show the #1 talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania. We appreciate it. So talking about local things that are happening, Mayor Clews, we're looking at, I was thinking about this the other day. I know you a long time, since probably going back to 1999 when we started all the different things. When you decided to run for mayor, now this is your second year?
Second year.
Second year. Have you, when you look at, your position and what has taken place over the 2 years, are you on track of what you wanted to do, in terms when you campaign as?
As a whole, yes. There are some other projects that, I haven't successfully put together yet. I'd like to have a new hotel in town. We continue to work trying to, attract new businesses. Those are probably maybe the two of the most important projects I wanted to look at. And, new stuff comes up that you don't expect. We just recently talked to a developer that wants to put 125 units, townhouse style, that would also include a child care building on the development site. So, those type of things, they don't happen often, but when they do, it kind of, distracts you or takes your focus to address that because it's right here and on the table. But as a whole, I'm pretty satisfied with how my 2 years have gone with mayor. Working with the different departments in City Hall, just like I said, still feel positive about it.
Yeah, well, and that's good. And we often talked about the politics, and in some towns it's just sad because everybody has their own agenda, and the worst thing is they have egos, and they don't work for the betterment of the city. From day one, and even when I bring some guests with me, as you know, when we're doing the taping, they'll leave the interview and say, there's a man who is really concerned about the town and not concerned about politics, referring to you. And because you've always, Pottsville is your home, and you believe in it, and it's not something you just say, I think that's a good tribute for you, Dave.
I appreciate that, Sam. It is my hometown. I'm still awfully proud of it. Sometimes they tell me in City Hall I take things too personally, and I do. And it usually takes me 2 days to calm down afterwards. Yeah. But I have never looked at whether it was a D, an R, whatever the initial was behind the name. It was how we worked together and
That's
how
right.
we've interacted.
Yes.
I just happened to say to one of my fellow council people this morning, I said, it was our last meeting of the year this past Monday. And, at least one of the council members won't be back. And we got through our work session early and enjoyed ourselves. It was the holidays. We all had holiday ties on. I wore a Santa's hat. And I told him, I said, after our last meeting, I have never felt more connected to this group than I did that day. We got through some business. We celebrated those who were serving with us and moving on. Yeah. And
I think
we look forward to the holidays.
Great.
as a bunch of friends that were working for a common goal.
You could agree to disagree. I'll say one of my best friends is a Democrat, and someone said to me, don't you like Democrats? Well, I don't like their platform, I said, but my best friend is a Democrat. So and we agree to disagree in a nice way, and we just appreciate that. And I would wish a lot of people would do that, particularly when it comes to what's happening in our country today, Dave. It's very sad.
It really does, make a difference when, I'm smart enough to realize the numbers. I'm the one Republican, and there's 4 Democrats, and I understand that. But we've been able to, work through things. Sometimes, it's just numbers, and I know it, and we can still share our opinions and get to the common goal, and I think that's pretty important.
And speaking of that, working together, you have how did you do with the budget pass? Tell me about the budget.
Well, yeah, it was great. Whenever you can get to the end of it and realize you don't have to raise taxes, you feel like you've accomplished something. This year, probably more than ever, and I did 2 years as council and 2 years as mayor. In those 4 years, being directly involved with different parts of the budget, to see one department give up an employee for another department to be able to hire one, to look at some different projects and different priorities, it was a great feeling to get through it, without feeling like we were going to war either. So good to put that out there. We're hiring 2 new police officers. Chief Morrow is staying another year as chief. We have a year-to-year contract with him. He asked me if I would have him for another year, and I told him we'd be glad to have him for another year.
Doing a great job.
So, those type of good news things when you're closing out a year.
You know what this reminds me of, and I've for years, I've done over 6,000 shows. For years, I've been telling our viewers, don't vote for the personality. Don't vote for, whether you're a Democrat, but vote for the person who is responsible and has the ability to do the job. What you've done in fiscal management, okay? You have your own business, 12 Volt Daves, and doing very well, knock on wood. But when you have a person who has understanding fiscal management, that's very important, because here you go. If you have a person, you have these glad politicians that just want to be in office, and they tell great jokes and they go to different clubs, but they know nothing how to run their position. Here, as a mayor, fiscal management and then the people that you surround yourself with, I think is extremely important. Look at the result.
Oh, absolutely. Councilman Atkinson is real tight looking at numbers. Councilman Botto is good at being able to prioritize streets and know what's incredibly important and what's not. Councilman Massaris, who takes care of all our recreation stuff, has managed to find some great people to get things done in creative ways, and he's been doing wonderful things. Barry DeWitt, who's leaving us, Councilman DeWitt, he's decided not to run again. Was working with the fire department and their budget and their needs, and everybody came together, and we had great results.
And I'll tell you, to pass a budget without any tax increase and all the costs going up, that's a challenge.
Oh, absolutely. And some of the things we've managed to do this year above and beyond. Shortly, we'll launch a new Pottsville City website that'll be more interactive, more information, make it easier for our citizens to get answers to questions that come up daily. So, been a pretty productive, actually a very productive year in a lot of things in City Hall.
I've asked you this before, because you get around every place. You're all over the place, okay? What are, some of the comments you're hearing as far as, is it parking people are having a problem with? Is it whatever? What do you hear mostly in terms of problems?
You're just plain evil.
Go ahead,
Parking, the P word, my favorite, parking, is always an issue. And right now, because of a new addition that hasn't been explained correctly to the public, it's become a spotlighted, another negative reason for downtown. And I don't believe that it necessarily is when people understand.
What is it?
It's being referred to as the parking stick. It is an in-place camera that monitors no parking areas, not parking spaces, no parking areas, fire plugs, intersections where, you know, somebody's dropping something off or even making a delivery and there's half a parking space at the end of the block. So they pull, you know, nose of the vehicle in first and have half of it sticking out in an intersection, or at least blocking visibility. That's what this device monitors. Okay. Not did, you know, Mr. Jones put a quarter in the meter or use his phone app, those parking situations. But if you don't explain that to the public, and now there's a new parking enforcement device in place, it comes off as a, you know, here's why I shouldn't go, they're using that app, I don't have quarters. And if you go to any town outside of Schuylkill County, there's meters, there's paid parking, and in the grand scheme of things, for Pottsville being the biggest city in the county, our parking rates aren't that bad.
No. I wish you didn't even have to pay for parking, but you do. Okay, that's a...
necessary evil, as they say.
We'll take a short break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Mayor's Report. I'm here with Dave Clews, the Mayor's Report from Pottsville now, and we also have a Mayor's Report from Hazleton with Mayor Jeff Cassett informing you what's going on. So we have a lot of things, Dave, that you've addressed this year. What are you looking forward for next year?
Well, I'm looking forward to, you know, trying to keep the positive movement going that direction. I'm looking forward to trying to, you know, influence people to actually think that, you know, we've got a pretty special hometown here, and the more we take pride in it and the more we believe in it, the better it will progressively get. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a kind of a domino effect. I go back to the old days when the lawnmower started in your neighborhood, and within 15 minutes, 6 others started because everybody wanted their, you know, their homes to look good. So I'm hoping that, you know, my feeling about my hometown maybe gets a little infectious to the rest of the town.
Well, if it doesn't, there's something wrong, because you're all over the place, you know, promoting as much as you can. You know, it's you try to make your town look good. You try to have respect for your town. I'm sure you're addressing the blight situation. That's a whole new problem that you try to resolve. And there's so many legalities that people, as you mentioned, and also Mayor Cassett, it's not as easy as people think it is, going in and doing things with properties, because there's all this legal nonsense, you know. Hopefully, but you do address them.
We certainly work at it, and you know, someday you got to get me and Jeff together. We'll do a show, and
we talked about yes,
what it's like.
Yes,
in towns of our size, and the issues we both face.
Yep, and every town has similar situations, but when you take the politics, okay, you have to run. I understand that, but when you take the politics out of it, and you all work like you're doing with your council. And don't worry who's a Democrat, Republican, and you work for the good. Look what is happening in Pottsville, and also Hazleton. He won by a landslide. You know, so you're doing things good, and you know, all we can do is give you support, do the best we can.
Much appreciated.
Well, I wish you the best of health. I wish you and your family the best of health, and hopefully we'll have a great 2024. Now, this show will be running in 2024 the first week, so when I say next year, don't think I'm talking about 2025. Okay, we'll see you next time.